Hello guys. So today I'll be making a video on Cav momentum, and it's basically a guide on how to effectively use Cav. So there are a few things that I do find super important with this is how to keep your Cav alive and how to most optimally use your Cav. So first thing I'll be talking about simply just Cav movement. So here I have Hussars on my screen right now. And basically when you try to move your hussars around, it is very important that you don't turn your units or any cav in 180. And this is very important because when your cav completely stops moving like that, your cav becomes super easy to die for like a second or so. And this becomes to be more important the faster your cav is, especially if you're on like, I don't know, companions or units like the green cav. Here I demonstrate how when you have your cat standing still, it doesn't really ramp up its speed the most efficient way possible. As you can see, when I tried to backcharge my cav and from the still charge earlier, the cav does take a few seconds to turn around and actually start the charge movement. With some cav that makes use of launch charge, if you immediately X them during your charge, your cav does not get the launch charge buff. It doesn't continue wrapping if you're out of the launch charge. However, if you stack your launch charge 3 times and then move your unit after, your unit retains this launch charge. And as you can see, my unit is currently 60% faster, and it also does 60% more damage, give or take. So when I am running units like Tiger Axis or Cataphracts, I can make use of this property, where when I use my Cav and charge them to fully stack it, I can then rally to me afterwards for the increased buff of my main damage ability. When you're using Cav like sort of heavy cavalry, this is a special case because the Cav is actually impacted by its formation. We use F2 and you drift with R1. Your Cav actually goes at normal speed. However, if you use F1 to do your drift, your Cav is actually significantly slower, and this is huge because some people might think a wider formation is useful in some scenarios. No, just stick on F2. Cav's like companion Cav has a issue same with many sword Cav where their abilities make them drive through the enemy. And this is, although this is super good, some people might tell you to immediately use 2 when you do this. This is gonna cause you to mix your abilities sometimes, especially for condensed units. Here demonstrates the difference between using a momentum charge and simply just using a still charge. So right here, my Cav doesn't have any launch charge ramped up, and as you can see, maybe the highest numbers I'll see is like 4,000, 5,000. However, here after fully stacking my launch charge, my hussars are able to hit was 8,000, 9,000, and maybe even 10,000 hits here and there. And this is very important for many Cav as well. So for dagger axes, if I use the 2 just immediately, it doesn't really do that much damage, maybe 1,300 per hit. However, if I use the launch charge property discussed earlier in the video and have a unit rally to me, as you can see, my Cav would do a decent amount more damage, so I'm getting 2,000 hits here and there. This is also useful for some other more meta Cavs, such as how the Strength Heavy Cavalry also makes use of this property. If I use a very slow one, in fact, if I don't move, my Cav doesn't even do damage. And this is very important because the Cav did get nerfed, so that it has to be moving fast to do maybe most of its damage. And here, if I use a fast one, my Cav does a lot more damage. The only Cav that is the exception to this rule completely, though, is the Yaredel Cav. This Cav, its one ability as its major source of damage, does not have any debuff from being slow, so that's why a lot of YYD players, you can see them drifting very slowly. The unit of companion Cav isn't actually as impacted by moving speed as you think it is. Number one, the Cav by itself, like all of its abilities, drives through as discussed earlier, so let's call this a Cav to go at decent movement speed, but the main thing is that the number 2, its main damage ability, is not really impacted at all by movement speed because it's a separate ability altogether with each jump, so it's not really impacted by how fast you are. But you want to be fast so your cat doesn't get caught. And mistakes that you would see many players do especially with Cav at fully reliant charge. So suppose if my deck racks don't have a rally to me available, many people would opt to send your unit back through the enemy regardless of what's happened because obviously you want to send it to supply right away, right? However, this can cause you to lose a lot of your cav basically for free on the way back because even if your cav isn't really obstructed, just the enemy unit models will get your cav stuck. So when you have scenarios like these, like you know the enemy team has enough to stop your cav, they can kill your cav on the way back, you want to send your cav all the way around from behind them. You don't want your cav to stop moving because you have the launch charge buff. They are not really going to catch your unit. And now I'm going to discuss a workflow for how you should be moving your cav in general. So right here, I'm showing how when you're turning your cav 180, it does take a while to turn around and you can get stuck, right? So what you should be doing is by turning your cav at less than 90-degree intervals consistently. And this way your cav is always moving. As long as your cav doesn't stop, you can't really get caught. And as I said earlier, it's very important the more fast your cav is. So right here, for example, if I need to idle my cav around all the time like this, my cav is gonna consistently be not moving and it's super easy to dive. So just in general, as you can see here, if I'm just walking around with my cav, I can just have my cav always walking around like this, and it makes it much harder to dive because my cav is always not moving. And if I really need to, I can just send my cav in a general direction that I'm facing, and you could just escape really quickly. When I am using my long charge here on my Hussars, as I told earlier, was a long charge speed bonus. So here my Hussars are really fairly fast, and if I try to turn some 180 here and there, the cav is not moving that much. It's very easy to dive. However, if I use my Hussars again, so I'm gonna charge again here. When I use my Hussars with the extra movement speed buff, you can try to move your Hussars to the side but these Hussars, for example, are faster than the average person on your horse. So if I do something like this, it's not going to be so easy to dive my Hussars now. So here's a very important thing for units that specifically cannot brace. So here it's stalwart, so it's a little bit troll, but basically for units that do charge through with their abilities, it's very important that you don't actually immediately go back into it. So here if the stalwart was tankier, I would have lost some of my models, right? However, if you send your cabs through, and you try to charge us through and then X them around and back into your next abilities, that would be super effective. So for example, here I charge my cav completely through and then have them go around for a second ability again. And this would be a very good one because you can condense your abilities and two, your cav will be able to generally get out with more alive. And here I apparently learned that some units get completely broken and trainee battle after a bit. So yeah, here is some very broken companion cav. Don't worry about it.